I think the best piece of advice is to go into business on your own to begin.
Yep.
8 business partners in the last 5 years, so
Wow.
you can definitely make a lot of money out of it.
People are so willing to give advice, especially when they're made out to feel like the expert.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Prime Potty. I am honoured today to have two very successful guests with a little bit of runs on the board. Today we're going to be talking about how to build a successful clothing brand, which I think is something that a lot of people out there are very interested in doing. It seems to be kind of the place to start for starting a business, especially now that we're in Melbourne. I think that it's a very popular thing to do here. So to start off, Jesse, how are you, my friend?
Doing really well, thanks, Tom. Good to be here, man.
Mate, it's great to have you. Jack, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Tom.
Out of 10?
Thanks for having us. Oh, probably about an 8.
What about you?
We'll go 8.5.
8.5. Well, ladies and gents, I'm 11 because I'm feeling absolutely great today. Now, I want to get everyone on the same page. All listeners at home, I want you guys to give me a little bit of an elevator pitch. So about 15 to 30 seconds, just so we all know a little bit about you. And then we're going to jump straight into building a successful clothing brand, pretty much from start to finish. And a little bit of advice from you guys who are in the industry, have been in the industry, continuing to be in the industry. Just kind of advice on all those sort of things. So we'll start with you, Jesse. Give us a 15 to 30 second elevator pitch.
Cool, wasted no time. I co-founded Push Pull in 2018, something like that. I was about 20 years old, and fast forward 5 years on, I'm now co-founder of Colourplane with Jack here, and so I've been in the industry about 5 years. That's what I do. Sell t-shirts and hoodies for a living.
That's so cool. Are you going to move into like things like trackies and stuff as well?
For sure. Crew
Cool.
necks, trackies, hats, socks, you name it. We'll do
Dope.
it.
All right. Your turn.
Cool. My name's Jack. I came from a sporting background, spent 4 years in the US at college, which was really cool. Came back during COVID. I founded a blanks business called Blank Earth. And now, about a year and a half later, here I am with Jesse in Colourplane.
Pretty exciting stuff. Are you excited to team up with Jesse? He's got some runs on the board, obviously, with Push Pull, a pretty big brand here in Melbs.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, me and Jesse have been close for years now. We kind of grew up together, and I suppose, we always had the idea or the thought that we might go into business together eventually down the line. So it was pretty crazy how the timing just kind of worked, and obviously Jesse stepped away from Push Pull, and I was doing my thing, and it's crazy that we're sitting next to each other right now, and we've been on this journey with each other for the last 10 months.
So was it always a dream at the start? Like, when did it kind of start, this idea of you guys creating business together, which you're now doing?
Oh, that's a bloody good question. I think Jack and I caught up a lot throughout COVID, doing a lot of running, a lot of bike riding, and just speaking business a lot as well. You don't have much else to do in COVID, so
No, you
just
don't.
kind of daydreaming. And I think at Push Pull, I was getting a silly amount of DMs about like, how do I start a brand? Kids kind of locked up in their room. COVID wanting to start brands, and the big question was like, where do I find a good blank supplier manufacturer? And I thought, this is tough because like we've spent years trying to find our manufacturer, so I didn't really want to utter that. And then I knew Jack. He'd just come back from college playing basketball in America, and he was like dying to jump into a business. And I said, I reckon a decent idea would be start Blank Clothing because there is that many kids reaching out.
Yeah. I suppose it started for me probably more as like my own brand. I love clothing, always loved fashion, so I always saw myself in it at some point, and then COVID was just the perfect time, stepped away from basketball, so it all opened up for me. And then just getting into it, which we'll go into today, I guess, with just the problems and the barriers that you face, I just was like, wow, this is so hard to find like good quality blanks and to get this up and running. And then I was like, and then obviously I had the chat with Jesse, and we're like, fuck it, I'm going to try and, solve the problem, and here we are.
Here we are, solving problems, solving the world issues right here on the Prime Potty, baby. Guys, let's get into it because, like I said, I just want you guys to give, obviously, me and all the listeners and viewers out there a little bit of a structure, a blueprint on how that they can start their own clothing business, because a lot of people have just no idea where to start. So I think, well, personally, this is what I think, but you guys could be telling me that I'm completely wrong. Probably the first place you want to start is an idea of a name or an identity.
Yeah, that's probably one of the toughest things, to be honest, because I think, Colourplane took us a long, long time. I love our name because colour, and then we sell plain basic garments, but we spell it plain as in like an actual plane. So there's like a lot of, bit going on there. But shit, I reckon Jack Jack and I lived together, and I reckon for a whole month, like literally 30 days, every day we'd wake up and be like, "Oh," and like yell a name out. It was like, no.
No, that's not gonna work, mate.
It was so
Oh,
exhausting.
it literally
We
was
just
exhausting.
like shooting each other down the whole time. Like, nah, don't like it.
Yeah.
Like,
How
move
long did
on.
it take you to land on a name?
Man, like,
It would have been a few months.
yeah, we weren't even like, because then you try to think of the logo, right? So it's like cool to have a name, but if you can't think of a logo and how it all goes together, man, we had so many names. And my notes was like 10 meters long, scrolling. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's one of those things. Figuring out a name, you're always gonna doubt yourself, no matter what, right? There's no perfect name. There's no such thing as that. So my best advice, what I have done over the last 5 years of business, I try to think of something really relatable. With push pull, I saw it on every door in the world. So I thought everyone's looked at a door that says push and pull. And I just thought that would stay in people's minds, and it so happened to be. So color plain, a little bit more abstract, but as I explained, I think there's that sort of double meaning with like we sell plain clothing. I think plain's dope because it's like a destination that we're traveling to. So that's kind of
Yeah, I think it comes back to the meaning. It has to mean something to you, and that probably extends to like a broader question of like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to start a clothing brand? What kind of clothes are they going to be? What do they mean to you? Because if it's just a little fad, or you're not super passionate about it, or you don't believe in it, it's not going to be sustainable, and it's going to drift off eventually. So yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that is especially important to make sure. Like you said, you mentioned like drifting off. Like you got to make sure that it's something that can kind of stay relevant. I remember when I started Prime Training, it was actually initially called Pandemic Training because I started it during the pandemic, and I was selling 8-week bodyweight programs, and they were flying off the shelves. But by the end of the pandemic, it started to lose a little bit of its identity. So I wanted to keep PT.
I love that.
Yeah, I know, it was so bad, man, and like everything about it, like. The logo was like kind of like a skull and crossbones for pandemic, and I was like, oh,
not
just
anymore.
so out of touch, bro. What I was doing. So,
Love it.
like I said, I liked the initials PT because I was a personal trainer. So I just searched up all the things that started with P, all the words, and landed on Prime, which was very, very cool. But starting a clothing business, you're going to run into any business, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks. What are some of the struggles that you think are most prevalent in today, kind of starting a clothing business?
I think everyone like jumps at financially, like that's the first thing, and especially when you're young, right? Like you probably have a part-time job, you're making very little money for 95% of the population, so that's obviously the first thing. But I actually, when I speak to a lot of young brands and people having this very thought, I often say think more about the time, because you can go work at a cafe and build your money, work weekly, but the reality is it's the time, the sacrifices that I find that the most difficult. You might not be able to go to every 18th, or might not be able to go out with your friends every weekend. Those types of things. Go straight home from school and like work on your small businesses, or maybe drop university. Something's got to give if you're going to run a successful business.
It's that sacrifice that's so important, hey?
I would
Facts.
agree. Yeah, 100%. Something's got to give. You got to realign your priorities, and that's something me and Jesse are still doing today. It's not like it just happens overnight. You got to work at it, and yeah, that's super important.
For Jack, like he was training, back to sort of when we came together, he was training at 2 NBL clubs, like hustling to get a contract. And I just said, something's got to give. And that now he's literally, people ask him every day, like, you still playing basketball? What's going on there? And he's like, I had to give up that to have this. Can't have both.
It's such a difficult thing for people to do because they've got a passion in one thing, and it's like, eventually your career is probably going to have to overtake what your passion is, which sometimes is unfortunate. And something that I try to do with myself is still have the balance of kind of having that passion, like still being able to play footy, but then incorporating that and funneling that into my business is something so I don't lose the passion and then can kind of incorporate that into my career. Starting a business, solo, partner, group of friends, how do you do it?
I think it depends on who you ask. People are going to have different perspectives on this. Me and Jesse talk, we have a few mentors in our life, and some of them say go into business with your friend, with your best friends, like they vouch for that. Others say don't do it. So I think it's just based on personal experience. Obviously, Jesse can talk about going into business with a lot of people. I started with myself, which I think suited me really well. I'm a pretty independent person, and I like to, think through my own thoughts and make my own decisions. So that probably really, was a good grounding for me. But now I was definitely ready I think you can only take things so far by yourself too. So there definitely has to come a time where you do need to build the team, and you know, me and Jesse, that was like the best fit. So yeah, Jesse, you could probably go into the other.
I've had 8 business partners in the last 5 years, so
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of business partners.
I've had 8, yeah, maybe more, maybe like 9, man. I've had a lot.
You know all their names? Can you name them all right now?
Go. Oh, I can't unfortunately.
I'm joking. Please don't.
I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, look, early days, you know, I was that young kid going around, literally calling all my friends in my contacts, being like, "Do you want to be in a business? You want to be a business partner?"
No, mate. Sorry.
Yeah,
you know, get stuffed.
Exactly right. And the reality is, most people say that, but like a bunch were like, "Oh, I'm not doing too much," or "I got a bit of free time." But I think the best thing I could say here is it's like a housemate. You know, you can only live with certain people or date certain people. It's the exact same thing as a business partner. Like you can't, like. You have different friends for different reasons, right? And you got to find that friend that you're really in sync with, that you're really respectful of, that you have, I would say, like a yin and yang sort of vibe as well. You know,
Yeah.
if you guys have both the exact same strengths, like Jack's got an accounting degree, I lean a bit more creatively with like my family background. So I run a lot of our marketing. Jack like really structures us up behind the scenes really well. You know, that type of thing. Make sure our books and all that are in good check. So I think that's important, finding strengths and weaknesses, and yeah, something like that.
You don't have to cut yourself off, mate. We're learning what you're saying.
We only had 15 seconds on the elevator pitch.
No, but that's so true. Like, you know, from my personal experience, I remember my family went through a little bit of an issue with being in a partnership. So something that mum and dad always told me was just be very, very careful with who you partner up with. So with Prime, I kind of just wanted to do it all by myself, and sometimes I do wish that I had someone else to handball some things off to, because it can get pretty hectic. But like you said, if you are independent enough and, you know, you kind of jump in the deep end sometimes, it's just the way that you've got to move forward. And then, like, I guess something that I started off with business is I was lucky that I had my old man who's an entrepreneur and kind of helped me out with that sort of stuff. But if you're starting from scratch, sole trader, there's proprietary limited, there's partnership, there's all these different kind of ways that you can start up a business.
I'll let Jack speak about the formal side, but just quickly, we speak to a lot of young kids about that. I think the best piece of advice is to go into business on your own to begin.
Yep.
Because often you don't know your own strengths and weaknesses because you haven't been out in the field, right? It's like you can watch football on YouTube or you can go out on the field.
Yeah, great call.
2 very different things. So that's our best piece of advice. Like, go in on your own for 6 months, a year. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and then you'll know what you need, right? So what do you think about the formal side?
In terms of maybe which route you go, the main thing you want to be thinking about is just tax implications. That's kind of the main thing. So if you're a sole trader, that essentially means that it's basically treated the same as personal income. So let's say you Prime, you're making a lot of money these days.
Barely.
You're
spending it all.
you're in a high tax bracket, and then any money you make through the business is going to be taxed at that high rate. So you probably don't want that. So I think for us, you know, companies probably makes the most sense. We're obviously a company. And that just means you can separate things a bit too, which I would recommend.
Pay yourself a wage as well out of that.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. I think a good rule of thumb is like if you're just starting off, and you're on your own, become a sole trader. If you're also very early in the game and you have a business partner, you enter into a partnership. That's like they're kind of like low fuss. It's very easy to start. You don't need anything too full on. And then a company is probably when you've been in the game maybe a year or two and you've built maybe a team or a product that's quite successful.
There are some startup costs for a company too.
Yeah,
which
of course. There is
worth noting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like $1,000 I had to pay to get started.
Yeah.
But for me, what I ended up doing is I ended up doing proprietary limited at the start because I kind of put all my eggs in one basket and was like, I think that this is going to be really successful. So like, I'm just going to start now with a proprietary limited PTY and just go from there kind of thing. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go, a couple of different directions, but definitely I think that that's something that you should talk to a lot of people about. Successful entrepreneurs, like I said before, that you can get as much advice as you possibly can out of that.
Yeah. On that note, like, hit up as many people in the industry as possible. Like, I'm sure we can all attest, like, the amount you learn from a phone call or a quick coffee from people that have been in your shoes and walked that walk, it's insane. Like, you could save yourself a year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we literally have saved ourselves years from just like a 30-minute conversation. I think people forget how willing others are to give advice. That, you know, they might be 20 years ahead of where you want to be. People are so willing to give advice, especially when they're made out to feel like the expert.
I remember, like, met with you guys a couple of weeks ago, and we just had a coffee, and some of the advice you gave me, I was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And it's so great to have you guys on the potty as well because, you know, like you said, you're creative. You got the accounting side. It's like, it's yin and yang, and it's really good advice for a lot of people out there. Let's say you've got your name sorted. You figured out you want to be a sole trader or a PTY, you know, whatever you might want to do. Then kind of next, you're probably looking at what's in style, what's your demographic. Is that the direction that you're going to go?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think you learn so much by doing. Well, at the start, you might think, you know, I mean, a lot of brands, if you're a male, you're going to start selling to males. And I remember back at our coffee a few weeks ago, we started speaking about the female market and the importance of how much females buy compared to men. If you think, you know, if you're a male and you think about all your mates, like you probably buy one thing max every month online, like absolute minimum, right? Absolute maximum, sorry. Where females are buying like 1,000 things, like they're buying like
They love it, man.
And they love it.
Get so much stuff online.
I think you guys both have sisters. I don't, but I'm sure you guys see it on that scale. Like,
dude, my sister loves buying stuff for her, and then she hits up the group chat. Hey, mum, you want some money? Hey, mum, can you? She's at college and everything in New York, so she's not really self-sufficient at the moment. But
Right.
she's like, mum, like I want to buy this. I'm like, bro, I ain't get this kind of handouts, sis. It's
Yeah.
that little sister, bro, or like little brother. They always get like the handouts from mum and dad. I'm like, come on,
Man.
mum, dad, help me
You
out,
get
bro.
those, Jesse?
no, yeah, I'm the youngest, but you know, back to females.
Yeah,
Well, that's for another day. But
Try to get
back
them
to
going.
females. Let's go. Yeah.
like they buy like I heard they buy like multiple sizes of everything tried on. I just can't wrap my head around that. What? That's a
Where's your
thing.
money going?
I don't know.
Well, yeah,
man.
we heard a crazy stat the other day about a big female like boutique brand in Melbourne. Something like the return rate was like over 50% or something crazy like that. So for every thing they sell, like
They're just returning.
yeah, like girls are just returning them because it might
I'm
not
putting
fit
in
well.
that returns policy, man.
Yeah, I think you need to change
Get it
that.
now.
Yeah.
Get a returns
In fact,
policy.
yeah,
Yes.
all the young brands, figure out your return policy.
That is actually a really good thing to say. Like, you do need to sort out your returns policy and say, you know, sometimes it's difficult to, you know, especially getting them to send it back and then you have to put it back
Oh,
in
it's a
stock.
headache,
It's a
headache.
very big headache. Do you guys have any big returns for push pull?
We did, man. It was a pain. Like, I think, I believe we got it down to, if you didn't send it back within 7 days, it was like, we weren't going to take it back.
Mate, I'd be like 2 days, I reckon.
Yeah, I think
3 days, maybe.
Yeah, it was annoying. You know, people have like oil stains, like their dinner was like halfway over the jumper, and you're
Oh,
like,
come
I think,
on.
why are you returning this? Like, I don't want your last week's pizza order, but anyway. I know.
Margarita pizza all over the front of the...
Legit. we weren't reselling those, I'll tell you that.
No, I just take them. That's,
Yeah.
that's what you give away.
Yeah, fact. Those are the giveaway hoodies.
Oh, I love that. I want you to touch on what you reckon's in style now. Like, let's say you start that clothing business today. What's in style now? I'm wearing a tie-dye hat at the moment. They're pretty in. Maybe a bit too much. I've really just come straight into the Melbourne scene.
Yeah, we love it. We've seen like a bit of cropped.
Yeah, the crop t-shirts definitely. I think with males, they become more and more popular, which I think is when you know it's probably a thing. Because if it's not just females and males are actually, you know, getting around it, then I think that's a real sign.
Yeah, I think for the longest time, like really baggy t-shirts, oversized, has been the thing for the last like 3 years. And I'm not sure exactly where it started, but I do know like if you wear a more like, when we say crop, like something that sits on your waist,
Yep.
kind of like shows off your pants and like your legs look a bit more elongated. So it's like a bit more proportionate in a sense.
Yeah, okay. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So I was seeing a bit of that. In terms of like colours,
I mean, obviously all the pastel colours are going crazy with all the female
that a
hoodie
summer
brands.
I mean, girls buy all year round. I think.
Yeah.
They're just buying
I
every
would
second.
say
Message of this podcast: girls buy a lot online.
Yeah.
So target to them if you want to be successful, or
Correct.
unisex.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's the thing.
I don't know. I think in Melbourne, you know, people buy hoodies all year round. So, and the colours. Here's the thing too. Like, there's only so many colours you can do, right? So, I mean, a lot of these brands are kind of bringing out new colours with every drop. So, I think we're just going to keep seeing wilder and wilder colours because they've already done the basic black, white, grey, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, trend's a funny one, man. I mean, in the industry we're in, obviously we're super blank. Like, we let the creators like design what they think.
But you weren't.
I wasn't. Yeah, a minute ago I was in there on the coalface. I mean, for us, you know, yeah, color was huge. I think puff print's been a massive thing. There's probably not a brand that doesn't do puff print right now. I'll take the credit on that one. No, I won't. Cut that out. Please leave that.
That was all me.
No, we'll talk. But
That's so funny.
I tell you what, one thing I'm gonna try to take a little bit of credit for, but not fully. About 80% of credit is like on screenshots of DMs. I have been doing that for like 3 years religiously, like every day. And the amount of people that screenshot DMs now and like, post that on a story is like, I'm claiming that was like 80%.
That was you.
I'm claiming it. I'm here. I'm on this podcast today making big calls.
I'm claiming.
Yeah.
I like it. I've never seen this side of you. You're bringing out some confidence today in this potty.
You brought it down to me, bro.
Everyone says I bring them up too much.
Oh shit! I'll calm down now.
Yeah, no, it's good. Oh yeah, I love it. What about things you want to see more of, or like a little bit of a quirky style that you don't see that much at the moment, and something that you'd like to maybe see brought back?
That's a good question, man. I think it's funny. A lot of like knits have been coming back in. Like like mohair is this like certain wool that's like real fluffy. It's become a real big thing. With Australia and like Melbourne, you look at the US and those TikToks and stuff, and we're always about 2 years behind whatever's going on there. So it's funny, like you're getting targeted all that, but then you don't really see it here, and then eventually it trickles down. So I think like knits will become really big if they're kind of already taking off here. It's people just dressing like grandpas, man. I swear to God, I'm not even joking. Like, go look at like an old
those New Balance shoes, bro.
Everything. It's a thing. I think Tyler the Creator's probably pushed that. Like he speaks real highly about how comfortable like old people are in clothes.
Interesting.
All Tyler wears is like knits and vests and
For sure.
yeah.
They all do wear some pretty out there
blazers.
clothes.
Like I think like that sort of old man fashion, really.
Yeah, I froth that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing that. I need some more old man fashion.
We'll see how we go.
Do you guys need an overarching message for a clothing business, or can it be just clothes?
I'm gonna say yes if you want it to be long term and sustainable.
Facts.
Because I think today, especially with COVID, there's so many social media businesses popping up, and people are just selling hoodies in cool colors and cool prints with no message behind it. And I feel like it's just super saturated now. So,
and does there need to be a message that you feel like could be portrayed to an audience? Is there a space for something to come in there?
Yeah, I mean, just like look at it like this, right? So there's no lower barrier into entry. Like you can get a white T-shirt from Kmart. You can get a texter and write a logo on it, right, or whatever. Just put a little design on there, print that up, and get an ABN online, which you'll get in 24 hours, pay $40, and you now are officially a clothing brand owner.
Yeah.
Right? Make an Instagram, that's free.
Done.
Take a photo of that T-shirt, upload it. It's like, I'm being serious, within 48 hours, like you're officially a legit clothing brand owner. So I think that it's very competitive, right? As Jack was saying, you got people everywhere in this industry, and that's why you need a message, something deeper than the clothing, because at the end of the day, clothes are clothes. It's all a bit subjective too, like whether it's a prime unwind or a purple hoodie, whatever it is, it's like whatever it means to you is very subjective. It's just an opinion.
Of course.
But the messaging can be that deeper layer, I find, and if that can be like that bigger arch, I think that's really important.
Love it. That was pretty deep.
Thank you, man.
Quite enjoyed that. You touched on finances.
yeah.
Do we need a lot of finances to start?
No. I think there's definitely something to say with having to be very resourceful, learning a bunch of different skills.
Get a YouTube degree, like just sit on
Yeah.
like in terms of like Photoshop, all those skills. Like I feel you don't even like universities are kind of going like shit right now because you can learn that stuff probably better on YouTube than you can in a shoot.
Correct.
Legit.
Yeah.
I use Canva for pretty much everything.
Yeah,
It's like
Canva's
the
a good one.
ticket. It's so
Canva's
good.
dope.
Like I use Canva for most of my designs. I've got like a designer now that does a little bit more formatting for me, which is I'm very grateful for because I'm not that like I'm a little bit creative, but like there's the people that are more creative.
Yeah,
But, like that's what I mean by surrounding yourself with like people that can
100%.
really help you with that sort of stuff.
Saying that though, I think you definitely want to have an understanding of finances and like how money flows in and out. I think a good one for young brands as well is just do like a case study for like a year, say, and if I sell, whatever, say it's hoodies. If I sell 50 hoodies, how much money do I make? How much am I making them for? Like, am I making money? Am I losing money? Like, maybe I sell 100 and now I'm starting to make money. So if I'm not selling 100, what am I doing? Like, I think really thinking ahead like that because otherwise you can just go through a whole year, just thinking that you're going to be making money at the end, or it's all going to figure itself out, and then you get there and it doesn't.
And you're not making any money.
Right.
You're living on the street. It's not very good, lads.
But
It's not going too well.
well, back to this being real competitive, like the clothing industry, I think you have to give a ton of value because you're versing, every Joe Blow that's opening up a t-shirt brand, a hoodie brand. So unless you're getting out there, I love, the authenticity of knowing, real relationships instead of just sitting behind an Instagram where no one knows who the brand owner is. I think there's so much to be said for someone who's, you see it in people's content where it's like you do a lot of public events with like a lot of youth and like kick the kick, and I think that stuff's like unbelievable because talking about that bigger arch, like it goes beyond the t-shirt that you're selling because you're actually out there, like friendship, right?
Exactly. It's like you said, you've got a relationship with the person that you're buying it off, and it's like you almost feel like you're their friend, even though you might not even know who the other person is, but like they feel like they really know you, so they're like really happy to invest, I guess, in your success, which is really cool. So
100%.
we've got, let's say, we figured out the name. We've got an overarching message. We're kind of figuring all this sort of stuff out. We're a sole trader. Now we've got to find a supplier. Where the hell am I going to get my hoodies from? Where am I going to get my tees from? Where do I go?
Well, Prime, you're looking at you don't need to look far.
Like I think the message I try to send here is a lot of people go onto Alibaba, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think manufacturing, so again, like back to square one, it's where most of your issues come from. If you go overseas, you're speaking to someone who probably doesn't speak English as their first language, and that comes with a ton of issues, especially long term when if you are buying big quantities because your brand's going really well, then it's getting riskier every time because they're probably more than likely going to screw up something in that big drop.
If you get 500, and they've stuffed up all 500 and you get it and it doesn't look right, then you're going to be in a bit of strife.
You're in the hole then, yeah. And I've experienced a lot of those things, and certainly Jack has as well. And it's inevitable, especially, I mean, the biggest thing for us is, back to relationships, it's funny how all these themes flow through, is meeting your supplier and knowing them, and that's where the trust comes. So last year, Jack and I flew to Vietnam, and we just dived straight in. We went to 20 factories, about 10 days in a row. We just sitting in Ubers, just driving to the next one.
It's hectic.
Yeah, just not meeting people, shaking hands, being like, what's going on here? And we landed on one, and that's who we use today. We're flying back there next month, which is dope. Really looking forward to it.
I might come with you guys, to be honest.
Hey, jump in, man.
It's
More the merrier.
yeah, it's incredible. The quality of the hoodies and the tees.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate
I
you.
just chef kissed for everyone listening and not watching.
He's gone again.
Absolutely
Two chef
beautiful.
kisses.
2 chef kisses. It's that good. Touch on the hoodies.
Yeah, we're stoked with them. It's been a long time in the making. I think we've been working on these for the best part of 11 months.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
So many samples.
We're on the streets, lads.
Yeah, probably
For a
about
minute.
Yeah.
What kind of
about
still
20 adjustments, 20 samples, back and forth. Yeah, it's been a journey to say the least.
Facts.
So to have it where it is today, we're extremely excited.
What makes a good hoodie and a bad hoodie?
Oh, I like that question.
There's a lot of factors.
I
mean,
start with
one
weight.
weight.
Yeah.
I think today obviously heavyweight is really coming in, and that's kind of taken hold of the market, and there's probably a real gap there that we are filling. The quality of the yarn, quality of the cotton, the materials that you're using. There's a lot of polyester and cotton out there, which
Just plastic.
polyester is essentially plastic, so it's got a bit of a cheaper, I guess, feel. Cotton's a bit softer. And then I guess back to the factory and how much you trust them and the workmanship behind the hoodie, who's making them, where they're being made. All that stuff plays a role.
I think like the cut of the hoodie as well. A lot of average hoodies like your Kmart or just your really cheap ass hoodie is just going to be like really generic cut. What we've really focused on is something that's like boxy, super comfortable. It kind of fits a lot of body shapes. Yeah, man. We have a fleece on the inside, like really really comfortable. I think you love it.
I love the hoodies. They are so comfy. I actually sent it to like my group chat of mates I went to school with in Perth, and they were like, "That looks dumb comfy." They're like 3 messages: comfy, looks comfy, looks amazing, and it was it was super comfy. So they are some of the greatest hoodies in the world.
They're crazy.
Plug 'em, and we will be using them for the new hoodie drop that we will be doing at Prime.
Can't wait.
Which is so exciting. Let's you guys touched on the fabric. So can we touch on that again? Because it was something that when I first got into kind of looking at clothes, what fabrics, like I didn't even know what fabrics are. There's like cotton, polyester, there's spandex, there's all these different things. I was looking at them all like, bro, there's a lot of fabrics out there, and then they mix them, blend them.
Yeah.
What are you looking for when you're looking for fabrics?
I mean, for us, it's 100% cotton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% cotton for us. I mean, all fabrics are good for different things. So a lot of your athletic wear, that's going to be a lot of your like viscose and kind of your more stretchier fabrics.
Poly usually
Polyester, lots of polyester. You know, lounge wear, tracksuits, your jumpers, it's going to be more cotton, polyester blends usually.
Yeah, big thing for us, I mean, is sustainability, and that's why we went over there and looked at all the processes. And in the next 3 months, we've committed to going to organic cotton. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I love organic stuff.
Are you going to clap then?
Dude, I eat only organic stuff. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm big on it. Like, no added hormones, like, no sprays.
That's
It's
it.
just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, no hormones in these hoodies.
Yeah, no, hopefully not. Sorry, I was talking on the food front rather than rather than the hoodies. But yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, man. So that's a big step for us. Yeah, we want to be really sustainable, really transparent. That's a really big thing about our brand. Like, we have our podcast that just teach people to come along on the journey. We started it when we hadn't made $1, hadn't made a sale just yet. We just bought the podcast equipment, dived in, and now we're here. I think just today we disclosed that I think we've done like $200,000 revenue in the first 3 months.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so it's moving fast.
Product,
Yeah, that was a lot. Without we
No
only got product in a
product.
week ago. So
We've got no product lads. We've done 200K. How does that work?
Yeah, we're just. I think with our backgrounds and with the samples we've had in, people have been, and I mean, it's actually more so the state of the market. Like, there's just really average options out there. So people are desperate. Like, I need like a good hoodie.
Yeah. And like you guys are just wearing blanks now, which is super cool. And I've actually, speaking of blanks, this was a blank, the t-shirt that I'm wearing. So if you're watching the YouTube, if you're not, if you're on the Spotify, then go over and look on the YouTube, because I've got the new Prime Unwind shirt. It's kind of an oversized fit. What do you
Correct.
reckon? You
For
liking
sure.
it?
Yeah,
Loving it,
man.
absolutely loving it.
Looks good on you.
Nice neckline.
Everything looks,
The confidence.
Damn it. I try to be humble all podcast. But let's touch on where we're going down the organic grass-fed type of things, because at Prime we do have new supplements, which is amazing. So 100% grass-fed. We've got chocolate protein powder. We've got vanilla protein powder. We've got orange-flavored pre-workout. We've got unflavored creatine. Some of the best supplements, if not the best supplements, and also the best tasting supplements on the market. As well, we've got apparel and training programs as well. So if you do want to pick any of that up, then you can jump onto the website and use the code podcast to get 20% off. God damn, I'm getting good at these ad reads.
That was
eh?
good.
That was pretty good. Yeah,
Like,
clean.
I'm looking straight down the barrel as well. So
Off the top of the head.
I ain't reading that off,
Nah.
but I just thought that would be a nice segue. So make sure you guys do please jump on and get anything that you want. Remember, use the code podcast to get 20% off. We figured out the fabrics. We figured out all this. We're running down the list. Now we want to embroider we want to put our mark
Yep.
on a blank. We might, you could just sell the blank if you want it, but I like it if if you got a message, you want to send your message.
100%.
You've got all these different ways of embroidering or putting your mark on a garment. Can you run me through them?
Sure. I mean, the main ones that you would see would be screen printing, a lot of puff print, as Jesse touched on earlier, and embroidery. Those are, I mean, screen printing and embroidery are the main two, I would say.
You can dye your hoodie.
Yeah,
like,
you can
do some
dye and like
things.
patches and badges and all that stuff. But I'd say for the most part, what you see, in public is screen print and embroidery.
Yeah, and there's different types. You can like heat transfer, so it's like it's more just like on a footy jersey type of thing. The way they put a lot of that onto heat transferred on sport jerseys in general.
There's also digital print as well.
Digital print, which is it's a bit funky. That's when you're doing like everyone wants to print a photo that was really detailed with like a million things going on. You'd probably digitally print that. DTG, you're all over it.
DTG. That's interesting, because I think is there anything that's on trend at the moment? You mentioned puff print.
I think you can't. Yeah, that's got to be the biggest one, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just taking the world by storm, especially Melbourne anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I think puff print it gives that sense of value. Like, it's a bit more than just a print. There's something about it. I think the way it sits, the way it's a bit raised, it almost like maybe emphasizes the message a little bit more. Embroidery is a classic. We're at Push Pull, that was our number one thing, was the smiley faces are all embroidered, and because they're so thick, I think that cuts through a little bit. There's a bit more perceived value there too.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of value, I think, in puff print. That's why I'm going to be doing the new Prime Unwind hoodies in. I think it looks really cool, but what do you reckon, puff print on hoodies and then screen print on tees, or do you reckon just puff print on everything?
just
Or is
puff
this
print.
something that you guys?
No.
It's kind of personal choice. Like end of the day, it's a very subjective thing. I think on a hoodie, with the material just being thicker, it probably feels. If you're puff printing on thin material, I probably wouldn't recommend it because it can distort the
It can
material
start to-
and
yeah.
wrinkles and all
You
that
kind
kind
of
of thing.
feel it on your body too. Like if it's
Mm.
a thin t-shirt, because it is that sort of puffed, thicker print, it just doesn't feel like a smooth
Yeah, it
t-shirt.
can be itchy and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Go on a hoodie, puff on a hoodie, t-shirt, relax, just get a normal screen print.
Relax.
I like that. I like that a lot. Let's say, you've ticked all these things off and then you're kind of getting the samples in, the samples are looking good, you go and order some things. Let's say you got 100 hoodies.
Mhm.
I think that it was something that you really mentioned to me, Jesse, about giving stuff away. Talk me through that because it's something that I actually never really did at the start of my apparel brand. I kind of just started selling it, but there was a lot of value that you can give in giving samples, and you can touch on it as well, obviously, because you did it with Colorplane.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, for the last 5 years of my business journey, that's been like my number one sort of staple is just, and you mentioned it as well, Tom, it's just value, value, value. And one way I saw we'd give value is just giving the products away, having people sort of test them and go like, wow, these are, comfortable. And I don't think there's a better way, like you can make great content, you can, be funny on the DM, or you can get your product in someone's hands. So for us, it's just been a main theme at the pop-up stores I've done in years gone by. We've given away tons of bags and tote bags, etc. And just recently, Jack will talk about, I think we gave away 400 Colorplane garments.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're just thinking super long with it. We know that if we give that value up front, it's going to come back tenfold down the line. So, yeah, it's a good mindset to have, I think, for young brands that are just starting. And as well, like, your biggest thing at the start is to get your brand out there, get the message out there, and what better way
100%.
than to give away free garments? Like, no one's going to turn down a free hoodie or t-shirt.
Exactly. I remember you guys giving me the first garment, and it was a black hoodie, and I put it on, I was like, well, this is crazy, man. That was like the comfiest thing I ever put on. I'm not even like gassing you guys up or like gassing Prime Unwind up because it's going to be huge, but it just felt so nice, bro. I felt like I was getting nice little cuddles. I loved it. It was honestly one of the comfiest hoodies I've ever put on. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with that. And yeah, the giving away thing is also free advertising. You got to remember that if you're giving it to, let's say, maybe an influencer or an athlete, whoever it might be, and they're wearing it around and someone sees them wearing it around, or even they put it up on their Instagram because they're just inadvertently wearing it because they really enjoy it, it's free advertising for you.
Facts. No, for sure. And I think you can make your brand look a lot bigger. So you make 50 sales with this 100 hoodies. If you give away 50, because you only ever sold 50, then you've technically like moved 100 pieces, which in the community, people are looking at 100 garments now instead of 50.
And we'll touch on the financials quickly. So if you are looking to do that, you could mark it up, let's say, 75%, so you're still getting a profit, aren't you?
100%, yeah. I think the greatest thing about hoodies that I've seen and spoke to hundreds of brands about is you make a lot of money on a hoodie, and I think there's a purpose for them that goes far beyond a t-shirt. It gets cold in winters all around the world, and a hoodie serves a great purpose that goes just beyond the design, right? So you're almost selling a lot of your design and your brand's overarching message, but then you're also selling something people really need.
Of course.
So it's a win-win, and yeah, the profit margins are about roughly double a t-shirt. So if you were to sell 100 hoodies, that's 200 t-shirts.
It's a necessity as well. It's kind of like food. Like you need clothes, right, to
Facts.
just live.
Mm-hmm.
So taking style from others is something that I also wanted to touch on because I'm seeing a lot of hoodies at the moment that are kind of similar to each other. And like, I know that there's only so many hoodies out there. So it's difficult, I guess, to like have something completely new every single time. But what do you reckon about taking a little bit of style from them and then kind of making your own, or like a little bit of copycat? Like, what do you reckon is like that in the industry?
It's a really good question, man. Like for me, I definitely look a lot overseas. Touching on back before, I think Melbourne, Australia is a little bit slow. Whether that's because we're on an island, thousands of kilometers away, it's probably it. So it takes a while for things to trickle in. Jack lived in America 4 years. I've been 5 times. So I think America is a really big influence for us. I think they're a bit bolder with like, what I mean. You only go on league fits to know. Like,
I go on like watch NBA and stuff and like watch them walk in with the fits. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You guys
It's
next
incredible.
level.
Yeah.
Crazy shit going on.
Was it the same at college? Like people were pretty out there.
Yeah, I had teammates, and especially some teammates that were, loved it, and you'd see them wearing a new piece like every day walking into the game. It's like, where'd you get that from? Like, I think they're renting all these clothes or something. Like,
They must be
I-
renting them, dude.
yeah,
because
I
they
think
come
so.
with
I-
some serious fits.
yeah, they definitely didn't have any money, so yeah, that or they were stealing it. I
College grind.
don't know. Yeah.
Couldn't even get you don't even get paid at college. So like,
Nah,
where are they getting these garments
Exa-
from?
exactly.
Dude?
I
Mum
don't
and dad.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Group chat.
I won't disclose their names, but
Mum
Yeah,
and dad.
I think just following. It's a nice mix of both. I think you want to look at what other people are doing, but then you don't want to get like lost in that, because if you're looking at different, especially in this social media age, I think you can take inspiration from magazines, reading. It doesn't have to always be super visual. It can chuck in a podcast, get inspired about like an idea, and then run with that.
I like that.
Mm.
You guys are just spreading so much wisdom, which I'm just like so happy about. 'Cause I know that everyone's listening that is just like so happy right now. They got a smile on their face.
that's good.
Let's go on to a little bit of fit body, fit mind, because
Cool.
without having you just can't have a successful life, in my opinion, from the way that I've seen other people live their lives, without keeping your body and your physical in shape, which also keeps your mind in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that your world will reflect the state of your mind and your body. So if you're looking after your body and your mind, then oftentimes like your world and your reality will reflect that, and you'll live a good and healthy life for the most part. Obviously a bit of luck comes along too, but yeah, I think for me, obviously grew up playing a lot of sport early, and I'm so grateful that I did, and for those experiences. I think they go far beyond just your physical health, but also your mental health and life lessons and all that kind of thing. And that's something me and Jesse do on the daily. And
Yeah, we run a lot together. I think Jack, it really rubbed off well on me in that regard, because I thought a half marathon was like, I'd retired, I'd put the boots up, the runners up, whatever you call it. 21
I
k.
put them up, whatever they were. I put them down.
They
I
were
was
gone.
too tired.
I was never putting them on again, and we did like 1 or 2 half marathons, and I was cooked. Like, I was so gassed after those. And then I'll never forget, we were doing some training run around that stage about 2 years ago, and Jack's like, "What about a marathon?" And I'm like, "Don't fucking say that." Like,
Dude, no,
we're
I'm
like,
not running that.
21 hurts enough, and somehow, some way, we forced our way there. And yeah, now in fact, I think we're doing we're doing a
we're
62
definitely doing it, yeah.
62 kilometer run in 2 weeks
yeah,
in Tasmania, up hills, 3,000 meters elevation.
Yeah.
8 hour, probably about an 8 hour stint.
kind of wish I didn't ask that question 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's led us to here.
Keelan, have you ever run 62 Ks ever? In a month? I don't reckon I've ever run that in a month. That's ridiculous. Yeah, you won't be seeing me doing that too much, but anyway. Each to their own, I guess. But that is really good. Like, having that fit body, fit mind, I think, is a really important thing. And it's good to see that people that aren't even really, like, involved in, like, the fitness scene, kind of like what I seem to be, is still a really important part of their health.
100%.
So that's unbelievable, and I really love it. Speaking of fitness, if you guys want to be as fit as possible, then you need to check out the Whoop bands, because they are really, really incredible. If you guys do want to pick some up, then you can look down in the description of the video or of the podcast to get some Whoop bands. Have you guys seen the Whoop bands?
I've seen you storing it, and
You thinking?
I'm loving it. I'm
Yeah.
close.
They're incredible. They're like the best things I've ever had.
What do you
Sleep
track
scores?
the most on there?
Sleep. Like, sleep's the biggest thing for me. Sleep and then recovery, because it like tells you like a % of how recovered you are. And I find that really important for me, because it's like, am I recovered enough to hit a really big workout today and hit a high strain is what they call it. So can I hit a really big workout today, or should I just take a recovery day and chill out?
Unwind a bit.
Unwind.
The first conversation we have every morning is Jesse walking into the lounge room, and first thing he would tell me is what his sleep score was.
I'm big on it.
And
Huge.
goes
This is
into-
incredible for
Yeah,
sleep, dude.
it'd be
Like,
better than the Garmin. I think.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
know
you
about
trust
my
the Garmin
No,
quite,
I
nah.
don't. I hate my Garmin. Like, love hate. Love hate.
Well, I don't hate the Whoop.
There's
But I
always-
do hate how it tells me that I have to sleep 27 hours every night because I'm not getting enough. But it is, yeah, it's genuinely some of the most impressive software that I've seen. So big on it, and you guys should go and check it out. As well, just going to quickly say Prime Unwind, that we have touched on a few times in this podcast, is going to be a new kind of streetwear, leisurewear, loungewear sort of I guess, part of the Prime Train experience. So that's very exciting, and these guys have helped me out a lot with the direction of that. So that is what we've been alluding to at times on this podcast. A couple more Q&As from the people out there, because I love asking questions and people just give me something back. So how do you stay relevant and not drop out of the fashion trends? You know, because sometimes fashion brands stay around, they're prevalent for a year or two, and then they're gone. Where the hell do they go, and how do they stop that?
I think my best answer to this is trends will always come and go, and that's why you need to be building that bigger arch as we're talking about, because I think that stuff, those relationships are way more, sort of intertwined than trends. So like if you have a really loyal community and, really responded to DMs with like a lot of love and care, then when the trends come and go, like people always ride with you.
People stay.
They stay. And that's why you got to build beyond just the trend, because that's,
A big one is building staple products too. So to have like 2 or 3 products that are like champions for you, and then maybe you experiment with 4 or 5 others that are more trend based, but you want to have that, stable, predictable 3 products.
And that's how you keep bringing the money in, because that's a perfect segue into the next question, which is building a clothing brand profitable? Like, can you make a genuinely good living out of it, or is it not that profitable?
I mean, you can definitely make a lot of money out of it. I can tell you that first. I'll hit the nail on the head straight away with that. But I think
if you do it right,
to kind of backpedal on that a little bit is, I think when I first started when I was 20, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait till I make my first $100,000 or whatever. When I see the business turn over $1 million, like, it's gonna be the best day of my life. And when we did those things, I was just felt the exact same way I did when I was first starting that business. So my biggest advice is, like, cool, like, money's great and it helps you do things and grow and travel and, turn the lights on, whatever. But the reality is you don't really feel any different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a few more zeros in your bank account, but trust me right now, if you're not happy now, then you're not going to be happy at those times. So
goes back to that kind of fit mind, fit body sort of thing as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why are you doing it? If you're doing it for the money, then probably want to choose something else.
Great call. Go gamble. Don't gamble, kids. That's a lie. Do not do that. I don't gamble, and you shouldn't. Any businesses that we should look out for in the streetwear, kind of leisurewear, loungewear that are coming up?
Prime on mind.
Yeah,
let's go.
Prime on mind, baby. That's it. Nothing else. But there are a few. For sure. There are a few that are coming up, especially in Melbs.
Oh, man, there's so many. Like, we're lucky enough to have a lot of them on the podcast. But Merch is absolutely taking over right now.
Yep.
Doing crazy things.
Matamako would be another one.
Matamako. My old guys back at Pushpull doing some special things.
Always.
Who else is doing amazing things? Like, in terms of female brands, I mean, Mr. Winston, as contentious as it is, like, they're doing some crazy, like, it's just
running it up, doesn't it?
Man, what they've built's pretty insane. In terms of international, if we want to dive out that way, I mean, the list goes on and on. I shout out a guy, Drew Joyner. He's from America. He's doing some crazy things.
Nice.
If you want to take it offshore and have a look what he's doing.
Well, some people definitely would.
Some
people would be keen on that.
Jump on it.
Anything. Well, lads, it's been a pleasure having you on, but I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
Because I want to, with all my guests, I love to touch on 3 successful habits that they've employed into their life that has got them to this, mark in their life. Because, you guys are pretty successful in your own right, and I would love to explore your minds and your habits. So give me 3 successful ones, please.
3 individuals?
Yeah,
or
3.
Collectively?
Yeah, 3 each, please, because we want to give the people. We want to give the people 6.
Yeah.
Well, like, some of them can overlap.
That's
as well.
value. You're talking 3, but we give them 6.
I'm talking value, baby.
Habits, like, think for Jack and I, healthy eating's really big. So we go to the Queen Vic Market, buy some organic produce. I think what you're putting into your body is really important. Organic veg and meat is big. It's a pretty good habit. Because we live together, I swear these are going to be the same.
Well, you do 3 for you, and then I'll do 3 for me.
Cool. I think, as much as I hate my Garmin and the sleep, I think sleeping's really big.
Incredible.
Yeah, massive. I think you got to get that. I reckon at least 8. Don't be fooling around on 7. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm not.
Amen, bro. Don't fool around on that 7. Amen.
Cool. I'm glad you agree. Whoop expert over here.
Whoop expert.
Third habit would be, I think my third habit's like spending a shitload of time with my family.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's big for me. I'm lucky enough to live like about a K away from my family home. So I'm there pretty much every day. So that's a big thing for me.
That's so beautiful, dude. I'm getting chills. Hit me with 3.
First up, I'm going to go journaling. Been journaling for probably like 3-4 years now, and if you know me well, you know I always have a journal with me. Jess, you
That's
know that better than
awesome.
anyone.
This is true.
Second would be probably being where my feet are. That's like kind of more a mindset thing, something that I really probably honed in on like 2-3 years ago. I think just the power of being in the moment.
Being present, right?
Being present, correct. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say being where your feet are.
Yeah, well, I just want to just touch on that because, you
Yeah.
know, some people don't really know
Of
what
course.
being where your feet are, but, like, being present is something that I preach all the time. Like, just not looking too far ahead, not looking too far behind, just, like, being in the moment is
Yeah,
incredibly
now is the most important moment of your life
100%.
kind of thing. And third, I'm going to say it's kind of another morning routine one, but like breathing. So it's kind of flows into meditation, but it kind of doesn't. So just like a breathing exercise. I've just found breathing in itself is just such a powerful tool, I think.
Well, if you don't breathe...
Correct, yeah.
You're in trouble.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so in the morning, just kind of energizes you, helps you reset for the day.
It's awesome. And sometimes I tell myself just to take a mindful couple of breaths in the morning just to, like, almost like recenter yourself. It sounds a little bit hippie, but, like, growing up in Noosa, I guess that's in my blood. But, yeah, it's kind of just, like, recentering yourself and getting back to basics.
Amazing, man.
Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. The blueprint, the knowledge, just the flow of this podcast has been unbelievable. And I knew it was going to be unbelievable when I was driving up today. So I'm so grateful for you guys coming on and just giving everyone your knowledge and your time. It means more than you know. So we really appreciate the Prime Potty, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thanks for having us, dude.
Any leaving remarks?
Leaving remarks, like, I think, you know, what Jack and I do is what we didn't really have when we were growing up, you know, and hence coming on this podcast means a lot to us to tell people, you know, a few little tips and tricks, bit of free game, whatever you want to call it, because sadly it's a bit rare, and, you know, I think bringing everyone up is the way we want to see the future go.
Unbelievable.
I'll just echo that. I think, you know, me and Jess have been very fortunate with the opportunities that have come our way and the knowledge that we've been able to absorb. So, yeah, we just want to pay it back.
It's unbelievable, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the Prime Potty. I will see you guys soon.